Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time around we started Invasion of the Dinosaurs. What was that one about?
Well, there is some kind of weird secret project where it appears to be some kind of, I hate to use the term eco-terrorists, but they're trying to save the world from pollution, and they've got this thing which causes dinosaurs to come forward and then go back into the past. And they've evacuated London and units on the job. And anyway, it was an interesting premise, which is almost completely and totally destroyed by the very bad special effects.
Yeah.
Now, we did mention the was it the Stegosaurus? One of the larger animals was in the background, and that was pretty good. But their Tyrannosaurus Rex is seriously goofy looking.
Yeah.
So, other than that, I'm looking forward to the end of it. And was it
Yates?
Captain Yates? Yeah, Mike Yates, who appears to have turned, to the eco-terrorists, but we're not really sure, so.
Well, and that's the thing, is that it seems like these are people with good intentions. They're trying to help the planet and stuff, but they've brought dinosaurs to London. It's basically, they're trying to help the environmental situation, and they have the technological prowess to do that because they can time travel, and they have chosen to bring in dinosaurs to the present day to evacuate London.
Now, imagine that story meeting where somebody says, hey, invasion of the dinosaurs. And you're thinking, oh, this is great. We're going to have, early Jurassic Park. But no, this is eco-terrorism with cheesy dinosaurs thrown in.
What it sounds like is they came up with the title first, Invasion of the Dinosaurs. And the writer was like, okay, what do you want me to do with this? And it's like, well, we want dinosaurs in London. And he had to think of, why are there dinosaurs in London? And this is the best he could do with that. So, yeah. And then, at the end, Sarah Jane was taken, but then she woke up on a spaceship that had departed from Earth 3 months ago and was on its way to Jupiter, I think.
But still had the scratch on her head, or the bump on her head, from getting whacked.
Yes.
Which should have been gone way long before 3 weeks.
Yes. So, we're not sure what that's about. But yeah, it's an interesting story, to say the least. It's just one of those, I don't know if there were too many cooks, or not enough cooks, or something. I don't know what happened with this one.
It does seem kind of half-baked.
Yeah, very, very, very strange. So, I guess that's pretty much all the build-up we need.
Pretty much it.
Yeah, so we might as well just jump right back into Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Oh, and I have some allergies going on here, so my voice is much lower. And, got sniffles, so pardon all of that.
Yeah, I sniffle all the time anyway, so it just happens. Anywho, let's just go ahead and jump right back in.
Brigadier, did you bring over that new car of mine when you moved your headquarters?
Yes, I think so. It should
A
be
new
in the
car?
garage with the rest of our transport. Would you rather have a jeep?
Not a bit of it, Brigadier. This new car of mine is exactly what I need.
Okay.
I think they wanted to take the Batman crowd.
It's a little bit like a updated version of Luke Skywalker's land speeder.
Yeah.
I wonder if they meant it to look like it was a hovercraft.
Maybe.
But it's just got the wheels covered up.
What happened to Bessie?
I think Bessie will be back.
I hope so. I can't believe Bessie is more subtle than this thing.
And you're Nigel Castle, the novelist.
Not anymore. I have better work for my hands.
I know you too. You're
Jump right.
the athlete. You jumped 2.362 meters in the last Olympics.
A small planet, very much like the Earth we've left behind, but at an earlier stage of development.
Still pure, undefiled by the evil of man's technology. Air that is still
And yet
clean.
here you are in a technological
Simple
marvel
past.
called a spaceship.
Innocent
Yeah.
and spoiled. It'll be our task to guide them, to see that the evil developed on Earth will not be repeated.
Our task.
Well, good luck with that. Botany Bay.
They'll all be recovering soon.
It's a 3-month journey. And almost over.
Where is this planet?
Yeah, I can't believe it. 3 months.
3 months and you still have that injury.
I think she just figured it out.
Yeah. You know what kills me about this thing? He's too tall for it. Though now we can see why the dinosaurs look so terrible. All the budget went into this.
They spend probably millions of pounds to develop the ability to bring dinosaurs back and not 10 shillings on security.
Nah.
He picks the lock and goes in.
He didn't even use the sonic screwdriver.
No. Oh yes, the terrible dactyl.
Excellent.
Nah. The pterodactyl. Just hit it. This is what I do when there's a fly in the house.
Don't you think? Where to?
You can't be allowed to go about saying these things. You'll have to be re-educated.
New Earth, same fascists. What happened to his car?
Don't know. Maybe the pterodactyl tried to mate with it.
Some vast scheme is underway, I'm sure of it. It's rapidly moving towards its climax.
Well, what do you expect me to do?
Get back to that underground station with explosives.
I can't do that without authority.
It was the one time he asked you to blow things up.
Then get it.
There's your monster maker, Brigadier. Caught in the act.
That was a pretty lame ending.
Do they realize the Brigadier will never fall for that?
I don't think they do.
Like, this is season 11. He's been around as a main character since season 7. I don't think that's going to convince him.
A very slow-moving episode.
Yeah, it was. I still don't get the ship. So, are the colonists, maybe they think they're coming to New Earth, but are they actually going to Earth? And they're preparing Earth, but that doesn't make sense.
Well, that's what they said, that as soon as the experiment is finished, the people will emerge to a new Earth. They'll be thinking that it's the new place, but it's actually just the old Earth that has been cleansed. That was the impression that I got from it.
Why take the extra step of adding a space? If you're already cleansing the Earth, you've already got people who are, brainwashed and fascist, and why do you have to take that extra step of, well, we left the Earth, and now we're going to a new Earth when it's the same Earth?
Yeah.
Well, look at this. Our new Earth conveniently has the same infrastructure of London. Like, good job.
Yeah.
I'm not... Unless there's going to be some sort of... They're going to use the T-Rexes to just flatten all, human footprints on Earth.
Yeah, it's not making much sense yet.
This reminds me of The Enemy of the World, when Salamander went and like, oh, here's this underground colony who thinks that everyone on Earth is dead. Like, what? That has nothing to do with what we were doing. So...
And isn't that also very similar to that Atlantis story where the people were underground and...
Yeah, a bit. It was a bit like that. So, yeah. I'm not sure. About this one. Now, I guess at the very least, even if the Brigadier doesn't believe this, he will still have orders. So, I guess that's something. Well, it's time for the Brigadier to go rogue.
Let me talk to them again.
Yes, of course.
Oh, good job.
Raise all the men you can muster on some kind of high explosive. I've got a pretty good idea where their base is.
Sergeant Benson. Sir. Take the doctor to a cell and lock him up.
Sir.
Keep him under constant guard. He's to talk to no one.
So it
Oh,
I'm sorry, Doctor.
well,
I'll be in the Brigadier's office.
you just played your hand. And in front of Benton, too.
Right, that empty storeroom. Fix it up as a temporary cell. Check the lock on the door and do something about barring the windows. Oh, and put in a camp bed. Now move.
Good job, Benton.
You better start overpowering me, hadn't you? You know a bit of your Venusian Uja?
And this makes perfect sense. Benton always loses.
Sorry, gentlemen.
It was a good Benton moment.
Soon the Doctor and his associates and everyone on this planet except our chosen group will never have existed. Shall we begin?
I've been waiting for you.
Oh, they're going to change history so that mankind doesn't develop and then send the spaceship people back to think that they've come to a new place.
Time and brought forward objects from the past. Now, suppose I am about to reverse time.
Okay. So, the idea is they're going to reverse time on Earth, and then this spaceship is going to land. They're stupid and they don't realize, or maybe they do realize, and this is just part of the act. And they're going to repopulate the Earth from them.
I think they're true believers. I think they really do believe that they're going to another planet. So when they get to this pre-industrialized Earth, they won't know that.
But what is the point of sending Sarah to them?
Just to get her out of the way, I guess.
You know, a bullet is a lot more effective than that.
With the most advanced spaceships developed, it would take hundreds of years to reach there.
One of our members
Good job,
invented
Sarah.
a new space drive.
Do you see that bruise? I got that just before I was kidnapped and brought here. And if I'd been here 3 months, it would have gone.
You were in suspended animation.
Oh, Mark, I've only been here a matter of hours.
Are they not even in space?
No,
All right,
barely.
if we're in
Well
space.
then. I thought they would have at least taken the liberty of putting them in space to just, circle around the block and come back.
You know, it might be a good idea for all of us to spend a little time in the reminder room before we arrive.
Punch him. He's an old novelist. What's he going to do to you? That was also my next question is, how is a novelist going to rebuild society? No offense to any novelists out there.
Well, I mean, think of guys like Stephen King.
That sounds terrifying.
They used all the budget on 2 helicopters.
Nah. Yeah, have you noticed there haven't been a lot of dinosaurs in these last 2 episodes?
Have you told anyone?
Well, nobody here to tell. I only just arrived when you turned up.
Any idea why the minister should be doing all this?
She just wakes up back on the spaceship.
Triceratops. Again, looks good.
Nah.
Brontosaurus. Looks good. Stegosaurus. Looks good. T-Rex. An abomination.
Wow.
Moving one arm.
That was so perfectly timed.
Sinclair. The Sinclair Oil Company, their logo is a Brontosaurus.
But if you can reverse time, why don't you just reverse time? What is the point of the dinosaurs?
Except to get people out of London. I'm not exactly sure why.
If they're all going to be erased from time anyway...
Yeah, it's again, we're trying to make sense of something that apparently Malcolm Hulk he thinks the answer in episode 6, but we're not seeing it.
I want to believe that he came up with this story. It is kind of an interesting story of we're going to turn back time. All the people that were born will never be born, and the only people that will be fine are the people that are on this spaceship. And that's how we will save the Earth. Okay, it's kind of interesting. And then they were like, okay, you'll get episode 2. Oh, wait, we said we were going to do this Invasion of the Dinosaurs episode. We got to fit that in somewhere, but we've already scheduled out the entire season. Hey, Malcolm, put some dinosaurs in your story. There, we did it. All right. While you're at it, put in a Batmobile that will never come back.
A manta ray mobile.
Yeah. So
Or Batmenta.
maybe the dinosaurs. Maybe that's because you can't just build a time reversing machine without unit catching wind of it. So you know that they'll catch wind of it. So in the meantime, you distract them long enough. But if they still don't know about it. The Doctor isn't even quite sure what all of this is. So why specifically get their attention with the dinosaurs where now they know something is happening that we need to stop? Whereas before they would have been none the wiser once time had reversed.
I think we're overthinking this.
I think we are too. But I don't know if we're overthinking it or if we're just thinking it, you know? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you give it 2 more seconds of thought, it all falls apart. Yeah. So, I don't know.
This is not one of the better Third Doctor's episodes.
Yeah, it's one of those 2 plot lines that could be interesting. Reversing time to save the world, and dinosaurs. But they don't go together. Because even in something where I was like Inferno, where I was like, these kind of feel like 2 different stories, they still went together pretty well.
Yeah.
So, these 2, yeah, they don't. Unless the whole point was to get a Stegosaurus in front of the Sinclair sign. But I can't believe that that's the entire basis of an episode. Even still, you could just do that in a dinosaur episode without this whole time reversal. Yeah. Okay.
All right, and you will pardon me. Oh. You will edit this part out.
Maybe. Depends on if I think about it.
It's going to be a Clash of the Titans.
Maybe?
Except that...
Would a Brontosaurus do that?
No, it's a complete herbivore.
Oh. You didn't have to do this.
Get out of my way!
They mean business.
You had a gun, too.
Nah.
Send them around to the dinosaurs.
Nah.
You won't just leave me here?
Don't worry, you're coming with us.
Why? Why not just let her be unborn when time is reversed?
Another female to repopulate the Earth. Oh no, the old air duct.
Ah, Die Hard.
They come out to the coast. Go to a party, have a few laughs.
Keeping you out of
Excuse me, sir, but are we evacuating or not?
No.
Oh, well, in that case, sir, what should I do?
You're about to join unit.
Old gun makes all a cup of tea.
I was about to say, you're about to replace Captain Yates.
Put it down, sir.
Speaking of.
Are we inside this protective field?
Perhaps, perhaps not. We're on the very edge of the zone here, but it doesn't matter.
You mean it doesn't matter to you not existing?
Oh, I guess that's why they have to get people out of London.
The others will get them.
It's a pretty poor excuse.
Oh, I didn't know you were back, Captain, sir.
Good job, Benton.
That girl's gone. She's not in the reminder room.
Well, she can't have gone far.
But we must find her.
Yeah, she really didn't go very
I'll help
far.
you, but, all...
You know, with all this reversing time and stuff, you would think the Time Lords would be more involved.
I'd like to speak to Charles Grover, please. I've got to speak to Charles Grover. Something very disturbing has happened.
Speaking of disturbing.
Hang on to your hat, Brigadier.
Look.
Drive under it.
Oh no. Whoop. This could take a while.
Again, it's a herbivore.
Yeah, it's pretty chill.
It wouldn't eat them.
Yeah.
And it's too slow moving to catch them. They can literally just run right around it.
Well, I want the Doctor to ride one of the dinosaurs into battle.
Don't you understand, Mark? Millions of people will be wiped out. That's the truth, isn't it?
Put that way, yes, I'm afraid it is. Yet in a sense, these people will come to no harm at all because they will never have been born.
These aren't soundproof.
I had to tell a story that would be acceptable to people like Adam, the sort of people I wanted to recruit.
You spent all this money on reversing time and you couldn't get a soundproof door?
We've got company.
Again, herbivore.
They keep bringing in the herbivores.
And would have had a hard time getting down in there.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't have gone in the first
Big
place.
flat feet and try to get down the stairs into the underground station.
Right, I'm going down there.
I'll come with you.
No, I'd rather go on my own. It's less conspicuous.
Sure.
You go and get those
Wearing a
reinforcements, will you?
frilly shirt and a Victorian collared coat. That'll be less conspicuous.
Look, sir, I've got to send those reinforcements. The Brigadier's in trouble.
You'll do as you're told, Sergeant.
Sir, I've got to send them.
I'm warning you, Sergeant.
Where's that other guy when you need him? Never mind.
Toss him out the window. Defenestrate him.
Yes, sir.
Come on, this guy's gotta be... He's old. Benton's young.
The villagers getting their pitchforks and torches.
Oof. Oh. For a second, I thought he was just gonna break his neck.
Or rip his heart out.
You cheated us.
My friends, listen to me. I have not cheated you.
This really is
Let
enemy of the
Professor
world.
Whittaker pull that lever.
Maybe it'll only reverse time to before all of this started.
So he's reversed the polarity! Keep
Duh.
back!
Well. Good job.
Where have they gone?
Back to that golden age. And I hope they like it.
Well, that's gonna be awkward.
Doctor.
What about Captain Yates?
Extended sick leave. A chance to resign quietly. Best I could do.
Mike.
Come on, Benton.
Still, I'll say one thing. Not many sergeants get the chance to punch a general on the nose.
Don't make a habit of it, Benton.
Thinking of making a trip to Florana.
Where?
Florana. Probably one of the most beautiful planets in the universe.
Sounds like Space Florida.
It's always carpeted with perfumed flowers.
I'm not listening.
And it seems there is warm milk. And the sands are soft as swan's down.
No, Doctor.
And the streams flow with water that are clearer than the clearest crystal.
Alrighty.
Well, nice little wrap up there.
Meh.
But they should have had one establishing shot of Grover and Whittaker running from a dinosaur.
Yeah, I did think about that.
Or, back with, what was his name? Iron Grod? Or what if Iron...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That they just disappeared somewhere into the past.
Meh. Yeah. It's also hilarious because the Doctor could go get them. He just won't.
He won't, yeah.
Yeah. So, it does make you wonder, like, so presumably they were going back to start from scratch, like before the cavemen or anything like that. So I was thinking, like, yeah, you got to be careful, like, where you're being sent back. Even if you go super far back, you got to be careful. There might be a civilization somewhere.
Yeah.
And thus everything repeats, I guess. So, but now the two of them will just be there and die alone, I guess. Well, so that was a dinosaur episode and a time reversing episode And an environmental PSA right there at the end. So...
And a space episode, or at least a fake space episode.
Yeah, and a remake of The Enemy of the World. You know, something else I thought, too. I wonder if this season, and it depends on what we'll have next episode, but I wonder if this season will all be specific, like, time travel things. Because last episode, it was, you know, the Sontaran bringing, you know, scientists back in time. This time it was humans bring the dinosaurs forward in time until eventually they would reverse time on Earth itself. So I'm wondering if every episode this season will have something like that. So, I'm not sure.
Well, what's up next?
Next up is Death to the Daleks. Oh, they're back again. Again! So, I guess, honestly, if it's going to be the Daleks, there's every reason to believe there will be time stuff happening. Time anomalies or something. So, okay. We can go ahead and hop into the notes. The first thing I wrote down is the new car.
Yeah, that again, first of all, makes no sense. Other than, again, just to have people ooh and ah over it, because it didn't do anything that Bessie couldn't have done.
It drove him somewhere, that was it. And then he had to ditch it for a Jeep anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm wondering if, like, if maybe, I don't even know if there was, like, a switch up in, like, you know, people running the show or something, and maybe they looked at Bessie and thought, well, that thing is lame. Let's, you know, get something cool. And then they looked over at Batman and were like, make something like that, but for Jon Pertwee. But whoever made that didn't hear the for Jon Pertwee part and made it too small for him.
Yeah.
So his head stuck out. But yeah, I don't know. Now I do actually remember, I once, like, jokingly said in a reaction, like, oh, well, maybe he'll just use the Who-mobile or something. And someone was like, and I was referring to Bessie at that point because that's all I knew. So I just jokingly referred to it as that. And someone said, no, the Who-mobile is a separate car compared to Bessie. So I'm assuming that's it. And obviously it being closer to a Batmobile. Bless you.
Thank you. Allergies.
Yeah. But why? Like, did they lose the car? Did they lose the first car?
I don't know.
That's just such a weird thing.
It almost seemed to me like a product placement or something. Like somebody said, hey, we've got this, you know, new car that we were thinking of using in our series and we can't use it. Let's toss it over to Doctor Who and see if they'll put it into an episode.
Yeah, or maybe, like, there's another show filming on the BBC studios and they looked over and they were like, wow, that's the most ridiculous looking stupid car. Let's put Jon Pertwee in it on camera. That'll be funny. Okay. So we've got the ship going to New Earth.
Now, that is something else. Again, the average school child would know that I think it's the Alpha Centauri system, is the closest system to our solar system. Yeah. And it's 4 light years away. You know, again, like she said, take 100. If she knows that, and she's a journalist, why wouldn't those people who are supposedly scientists or, you know, have some explanation as to how they're going to get to this new Earth, and even if they say somebody's invented a new drive, why wasn't that publicized? You know, why aren't all cars and trains and planes being utilized with this new technology?
Because I'm sure that in this world there could be someone who could make a ship that could get to Alpha Centauri and meet the delegate from Alpha Centauri, the giant pickle in a bathrobe, that could get there in 3 months, because humans have the capability of turning back time on Earth. But they didn't know that humans have that capability because they're not in on that part of the plot. So yeah, all they know is, oh, well, someone has made this really great ship that nobody heard about, and we're just on it.
And if you've been gone for 3 months, why can you still see Earth out the porthole?
Yeah,
Because didn't he point out and say, "Hey, we've been gone for 3 months," but they looked out and supposedly that was Earth in the background.
Yeah.
So
it's not. Even if you were on Mars, the Earth would not be anywhere near visible.
No.
So
well, it would be a dot.
I mean, yeah, it'd be a dot, but that's about it. So yeah, I'm not sure. Like, someone should have questioned that earlier on. But then they do have the re-education centers, which that's got to have some red flags, right? Like, if you're going, it's like, we're going to have this, nice new world. If you bring up anything to the contrary, you will be re-educated. Like, no, I'm not sure about that. Novelist and other person whose profession I forgot. Whatever it wasn't something where it's like, yes, I shall have you rebuild society. I don't remember what it was, though.
Well, again, that is very reminiscent of what was happening in Russia and China in the 60s and 70s, especially in China. They literally had re-education camps where if you were, for example, a school teacher and they didn't want you to teach anything other than the communist line, you went to a re-education center where they made you into a farmer or a rancher. So yeah, they're removing the intellectuals and getting them back into people who are just the very basic farmers and herders and things like that.
Yeah. Now the guy that Sarah convinced, his name was Mark, right?
Yeah.
But didn't they say his name was John at one point? Like, when she was saying, it's like, oh, you're the novelist, you're that, the other person. I thought she said, I thought it was, like, John Crichton or something. And it was like, oh, you're an athlete. Which I guess an athlete, you're at least physically built to survive some of this stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
Wasn't that right at the beginning of episode 3? I mean, we could go back and check that.
Yeah.
I interviewed you about that private member's bill of yours against the pollution of rivers.
So she's a member of Parliament.
Okay.
And you're
I guess
Castle, the novel. I know you too. You're
John Crichton,
the athlete. You jumped 2.362 meters in the last Olympics.
all that's behind us now.
Okay. But I swear they called him Mark. Like, am I insane?
No.
Or they called him Mark later. So I don't know if there's something specific. Mark, and there's nothing separate for John Crichton. Did they, like, forget his name while they were writing? Someone got high while they were writing this, I think. So, alright, that's weird. Anyway, so, okay. So your elders, to lead your new society, you have a member of Parliament and a novelist. And I guess, the minister, and you'll have at least a scientist there with Whitaker.
And then theoretically, General Finch. That's not a good idea.
Yeah, and Captain Yates. This is a terrible idea. like, okay, a member of Parliament. That would be great if you were going back to take over, like, ancient Mesopotamia, like when they were first, putting roots in, When they were first, building their houses and stuff, you go in, you take over, you're a member of the new Mesopotamian Parliament. But you're not. You're going back before humans existed, which, if humans haven't existed yet, how are you going to live there? Like, I guess I don't know my prehistoric eras too well.
Well, it could be that they were just going back to, like, the Neolithic era, when there were cultures, but not civilizations. And that we essentially they could then guide the cultures to a new peaceful world.
I suppose, but there is, there's a saying. It's called history repeats. And if these, if they spread into, if they become civilizations, well, I guess maybe they're thinking, well, we are here, we know history, we know what they're going to do, so we'll silently, guide them to make sure that all those bad decisions don't happen.
Oh no, they're the Illuminati.
Yes. This would all work if there weren't dinosaurs in this story, and this was 6 episodes to flesh out what any of this means.
Yeah, you're right. take out the dinosaurs, and this might have been a very interesting episode.
Yeah, because then yes, you have the whole the ends justify the means. You're erasing not only everyone that's on Earth at that moment in 1974, but also everyone who has ever existed over hundreds of thousands of years. You're taking away all of those lives, and it's like, well, but then you have the interesting thing of, we will watch these civilizations grow, but we will make sure that they don't make mistakes. Now, what mistakes early on you're going to be changing?
Okay, I just thought of something else.
Yeah.
If you're going to choose a spot to start Earth's civilization, culture, history over again, Neolithic Great Britain is not specifically the place. All right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why the first civilizations developed closer to the equator. All right, the Nile, Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and in China, because Great Britain is too far north. They wouldn't have had a lot of the things that especially the crops that they could have grown, that would have grown down there in the more temperate zones or even tropical zones. So, I mean, that's a flaw that literally only historians would understand. And the British culture, trust me, the British culture has become one of the dominant cultures in the world today. But it certainly wasn't in Paleolithic or Neolithic times.
Yeah. The other thing, too, if it's that they're going to keep an eye on history, because they know history, now that time is playing out again, they know how things will go and they can change it. But once you change that first thing, aren't you out of information? Because if that, changes even one of these civilizations, you have a brand new history that you don't know about. So, and I'm trying to think, okay, I understand, pollution, nuclear war, and stuff like that. I get changing that. But the first thing you could possibly change, one of the first places you could possibly change would be, Egypt. What are you changing in Egypt that's going to save... I don't know. I'm trying to think, yes, they're going to... If you go by... I don't know, they're going to do the Book of Exodus early. Well, I don't know, or something.
But see, here's the thing. What I used to teach in my world history classes is that today's modern world is literally a combination of all of the others, all right? Up to and including the Hellenism under Alexander the Great. Because Egypt gave us really the beginnings of agriculture, how to learn about the flooding of the Nile and how the inundation would then put down the silt, which would allow you to grow wheat and flax and papyrus, and then papyrus would lead to the invention of at least a form of writing. And there was a government, but yes, that's the worst part of the Egyptian civilization, was this pharaonic government, the social pyramid, as it were. But then you've got things that you can get from the Mesopotamians. And again, once you put all that stuff together, and again, I don't mean to harp on Alexander the Great, but bringing all that together is what ultimately Western civilization developed out of. So this is really, fascinating idea, but certainly the wrong place to do it. And the other thing is, if they said, okay, well, we're just going to go back to Great Britain and then we'll migrate to Egypt or Mesopotamia or India or China, how are they going to get there? Crossing through Paleolithic Europe or Neolithic Europe. First of all, how are you going to get across even the English Channel, even though it's only 20 miles wide? These people know how to build boats that are going to get them across, all of them. So, the longer we think about the theory, the faster it falls apart. It's an interesting idea. It just, there's too many variables for what they were doing.
Yeah. Well, because I'm also thinking, boy, the Egyptians are going to be confused when these white people that don't speak their language just show up and try to change them. I don't know how well the Egyptians are going, or anyone for that matter. I'm not just trying to harp on the ancient Egyptians, but you got, granted, time will progress and everything like that. I'm sure, by the time, if they did get to Egypt, I'm sure, Parliament person and novelist aren't going to be around anymore.
Well, by the time they got to Egypt, none of these people would be there, right?
Right.
It would take them literally decades at the earliest to get from Great Britain, because again, you're going to have to find a way across the English Channel, across France and Germany north of the Alps, because you're not going to be able to get through the Alps. Then you have to go all the way down through the Balkan Peninsula. I mean, and this is, again, if you have maps and you have knowledge of how to get to the Bosporus so that you can cross the strait into Turkey. And then from Turkey, you have to get down through the Holy Land, the Levant, Israel and Lebanon and Phoenicia at this point, and then get down to Egypt. So, I mean, and that's the closest spot that you can get to. So it's just, again, the longer you think about it, the more we as historians go, thumbs down on this idea.
This is all predicated, by the way, on the idea that they're not on Earth anymore. So if they, even if they make it, like they go, it takes them 500 years to cross all of that. And then they show up and they look in the horizon. Oh, look at that. That looks like Egypt. Hey, wait just a second. I think we never left. Because the other idea is, maybe, well, how are we going to cross this planet? Well, we have 7 spaceships, don't we? Mm-hmm. No, you don't.
No.
Like, unless it's like, oh, well, 6 of them burned up. Because the other 6 don't exist. It's just this one. The other 6 spaceships exploded before they could get in here. And this one, well, it just doesn't work anymore.
And again, if you go back to Paleolithic times, all of those clans, all of those basically, extended family units that would later become the cultures that would become the civilizations, first thing that they did was survival by hunting and gathering food, and survival by inventing weapons to keep hostile other clans and hostile wildlife at bay. So, unless you've got some kind of guns, which apparently is antithetical to everything that they're talking about, there's no way this... I mean, again, nobody's thought this through. They needed a historian to come back here to help them write this. And I'm sure Malcolm Hulk thought this was a great idea, and I don't know if somebody tampered with his script or not, but again, the longer you look at it, the more it just starts crumbling around the edges until the center falls apart.
You know what would have been funnier? If instead of like, well, we're going to do all of this to save the world or something like that, if the idea was just, well, we've tried expanding the British Empire in our time, and now, sort of falling apart, we don't really have that much of an empire. So here's the new idea. We're going to turn back time and take over the Earth from the start, but we're keeping a lot of military people with a lot of guns. That way we have the advantage. I'm not saying that's a plan that will work, but it's a plan I could at least see someone would be like, well, let's give that a shot. Because this plan, especially because you're keeping the truth about reversing time from, most of your people, this plan just doesn't work on a fundamental level. Like, even a stupid plan is better than this. This plan just doesn't make sense.
Can you forward this to where she and John are talking and see if he does, in fact, be referred to as Mark?
All over Europe.
Mark, you've got to listen to me.
It's Mark. So it's John and it's Mark.
He's John Mark.
That's so strange. Okay. All right. You know what's going to happen is that these episodes are going to go out and it's going to be a fan favorite. It's going to happen. Now, I could see, like, people enjoying this just on a dumb fun level. Like, yeah, I kind of get it. Dinosaurs, goofy stuff. That's all fun. But we just... The problem is we keep thinking about it. And that is a major problem with this story. If you start thinking, it really all falls apart.
Why don't we move on?
Let's see. They tried framing the Doctor. That went well.
And that was pretty lame.
Yeah, like, there's no reason...
Because how was he conjuring it up? I mean, he was only in the room when it appeared.
I guess because, like, they had a machine there, so it's like, oh, the Doctor's next to a machine when this, Stegosaurus materializes, so he must be doing it. As if the Brigadier wouldn't think, well, he could just have some funky-looking machinery to analyze it or something, which he's already done in this episode. So, yeah, that was strange. But at the very least, the Brigadier pretty much knew immediately. Like, he still had to follow orders, but he knew the Doctor wasn't doing this, and neither did Benton. And then Benton, two good Benton moments where he subdues Yates and then he subdues Finch later.
Yeah.
That was really good.
I love that. It's not often you get to punch a general in the nose.
Yeah. Try not to make a habit of that. So, I wonder if Benton will now be promoted to captain after this.
Well,
which is higher? Captain or sergeant?
Oh, sergeant is the non-commissioned officer. He would have to first become a lieutenant and then captain.
Okay.
And then again, that requires a promotion beyond what most sergeants would do. Normally, the only time a non-commissioned officer can do that is in a battlefield.
Okay.
But, he could become... And again, I don't know if the ranks are the same in the British military. But, for example, when my dad reached the sergeant rank in the Air Force, he went from staff sergeant to tech sergeant to master sergeant to, I think, senior master sergeant and then chief master sergeant. It's either chief and master or master and chief. But yeah, he retired as the top level non-commissioned officer.
Not to be confused with Master Chief from the Halo series. So, there's a reference. Anywho. See, half of these are also questions in my notes. Reverse time, question mark. Dinosaurs, question mark. What time are they going back to, question mark.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that wants to see an alternate ending where this did succeed. And, well, if it succeeded, and then, we see this group of people who probably have never built anything in their lives try to build a house, just one house, So
but now, one assumes that these people have been chosen for those kind of specific skills.
Like the Parliament person and the novelist.
Well, the Parliament person, of course, is chosen because they have government experience. They have leadership capabilities, supposedly. And the novelist, again, now that one, yeah, that's simply because he's, a promoter. But yes, you would think if you're going to, create a new colony, like we saw in Colony in Space, you're going to need farmers, you're going to need carpenters, you're going to need masons, you're going to need plumbers, electricians, all these different kinds of skills, literally just to get to the most basic level of civilization.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I guess Mark John was an athlete, so he's at least physically able.
He can jump high.
Yeah. You know what? If you give him a ball, he can entertain you for a little while you starve to death.
Actually, I would think he was a track athlete. Because if she talks about he was at the Olympics and he jumped a certain height, that means he's not even a pole vaulter, he's just a high jumper.
Well, he can at least run from the bears that are going to try to kill him.
Now, totally weird fact that probably nobody out there in our audience knows. If they're going back to prehistoric times, the short-faced bear, who is the precursor of the modern-day bear, the short-faced bear has a bone structure that would have allowed it to run up to 40 miles an hour over a short distance. So, if you're caught by a short-faced bear, you're not going to outrun him.
Yeah.
He's going to have you for lunch.
Well, they really didn't think this through, did they? Well, because, there's also the question of, and we have to quit asking these questions at some point, but there's also the question, okay, so you're going back before humans, I guess, existed.
Well, in their modern form.
Right. So there are some humans, at the very least, or if not, they will evolve at some point.
Yes.
They will evolve and show up, and then I guess it's just, we will guide them.
Right.
Somewhere greed is going to happen.
Somebody contact Russell T. Davies.
Oh, gosh.
And say, hey, this is a story that you should pick up on with the 14th Doctor. What would happen if we actually went all the way back to Paleolithic times, trying to alter what would happen to the Earth, and then begin to realize all of the different problems, and finally the Doctor says, no, like he says here, you can't recreate it. You're going to have to deal with what we have here. Yes, it's messy, but the problem is not the oil and the pollution, all that. The problem is us. We have met the enemy and he is us. We need to clean it up. When we clean up our act, when we get rid of the greed, then we can clean up the rest of the world.
Yeah, like, it's terrible to say if you took this reversing time idea and you gave it to a good writer. I hate saying that because Malcolm Hulke is a good writer. Yeah. Wasn't he one of the ones that did the War Games?
I think so.
Yeah, so it's a weird thing to say, but yeah, it's like, I'm trying to think, like, okay, if you gave this to, like, Russell T Davies now, that could be a very interesting sort of plot line, Yeah. So, yeah, now, I mean, there's also the question of, like, well, how would this get started? How would the Doctor not thwart this? But you could come up with something as to why this happens. Also, and here's the next thing. If you have the scientific prowess to invent time travel, at the very least time travel of reversing time over an entire planet. Just the planet, I guess. The rest of the solar system's just fine. I guess the flag and stuff is still up on the moon, but they're not going to see that for a couple 100,000 years. But if you have the capability of reversing time itself, you can't make a decent enough spaceship to just leave and go start a new colony on an actual new Earth, Or, and if you... Now, granted, yes, the closest is Alpha Centauri. We know there is life there. There is, the pickle in the shower curtain. But there's got to be somewhere. Why not just do that? Why commit the worst possible genocide, reverse genocide? Well, I guess reverse genocide is you make too much people. But this reversing time, billions upon billions, probably trillions of people that have ever existed, getting rid of their very existence by reversing time. Or you could make an actual spaceship and go. Why not take that option?
So, Mr. Davies, call us.
Yes. Do another episode about dinosaurs, but a separate episode about dinosaurs while you're at it.
Yeah.
So I guess the dinosaurs... The purpose of the dinosaurs was to get people out of London, because anyone in London would have been fine.
Yes, because they were inside the dome, and they would have gone back in time with everybody else.
Here's the next question. Would the infrastructure of London have been left intact when they went back in time?
One assumes that. And so that was the other problem is, once they wiped out all the other people on Earth, and they got out of the spaceship, why would there be structures there?
Yeah, like London.
And then, when they got out of the spaceship, why would they not look around and go, where's the outside of our spaceship? Because they would have emerged from this dummy spaceship into either nothing at all, or the basement of the minister's building.
Or let's say they get past that. Somehow they hide the fake spaceship and what was left of London that was still here after reversing time. So you get through the first day. Night falls. What's that? Up in the sky. Well, boy howdy, that looks a lot like the moon we had. And you know what? Look at some of these stars and these constellations. Some of them have to look familiar, don't they?
Yeah.
So there's also that.
Okay. Move on. We've already taken up.
We have to move on. We're almost at the 2-hour mark on this recording. We don't normally talk this long on 3 episodes. All right. So that's what the dinosaurs were for.
Yes, it's a distraction. Get everybody out of London.
Oh, that's so stupid. I guess the last thing, honestly, is just that Whittaker and Grover were sent back in time. There is also the whole thing, if they had gone through with this whole thing, the Doctor would have still been there, because he's unaffected by the reversing time. So even if any of this had happened, the Doctor would have been there. Probably, I would imagine the TARDIS probably would have still been there, and then the Doctor can just go fix this anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah. But I also like that idea that the Doctor has all capabilities of going back and saving Whittaker and Grover, bringing them back to the present. The Brigadier arrests them, and that's that. I love the idea that he just won't. Like, that is such a cruel thing that you know what the Doctor would do, actually. Because this isn't like the first and second Doctor, where it's like, oh, well, I don't have control of the TARDIS, or, you know, pretty much the Doctor up until season 10. It's like, well, I don't have control of the TARDIS, so I wouldn't be able to go back and save them. He could go do that. He just won't. That's incredibly cruel, but that is something the Doctor would do for something this stupid. And yeah, if there's this whole thing about reversing time, shouldn't the Time Lords be more concerned about this? Because it's like, that's serious technology for a human to invent, you know? This capability of reversing time. So, yeah. Or the Time Lords saw that and they're like, the Doctor's got this covered. He's always got it covered. He'll be fine. So let's just sit back and do nothing like we always do. So, have you got anything else?
I got absolutely nothing.
All right. This was an interesting one, to say the least.
I'm going to go out on the limb and say this is probably not a fan favorite. Because I think our average viewer is looking at this the same way we did and just going, first of all, of course, unfortunate special effects.
Yeah.
But again, the moment you pull one thread, this whole fabric falls apart.
It really does. Any of them, if you tug on the dinosaurs, Yates, it's interesting too, because at least like with those people, they wouldn't have known, presumably, at least that was the plan, that they wouldn't have known about, you know, wiping out trillions of lives that have existed for hundreds of thousands of years. And you know, Whittaker and Grover and Finch, they're insane. I would have loved to have seen how that guilt would have weighed on Yates's consciousness. And it's like, wow, all of my friends I have ever known, and all of their ancestors, and all the other people that have ever existed on Earth are all gone because of what I did. Yeah. Like, you know, Yates isn't crazy. That probably would have weighed on his consciousness. Yeah. So
now, I am assuming that they did this for him because he probably, you know, his contract was up or he wanted to go do something else. And this was just a way to write him out of the show. Yeah.
Which is interesting for a character like Yates, who has been around, definitely, but he hasn't, like, that's almost sort of, you know, something you would do. You specifically come up with something to write them off for, like, a companion. And Yates, you could have given any sort of excuse, or even if he just didn't show up at all, and be like, well, you could just assume he retired or he got transferred or something else. Yeah. So doing all of that, but yeah, he's out. Yeah. You know, they're not even a goodbye at the end, you know, you're under arrest or anything. He's just out. He's been
medical leave and quietly resign.
Yeah, it's the best sort of thing that the Brigadier can do for him. Yeah. So, because he did have good intentions. The good intention sort of falls out once you have the whole, you know, time genocide. So,
yeah. Well, you know that old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah. You know what's great? We have a Dalek episode next. The only way that this is going to work, I feel like, is if it's not written by Terry Nation. If it's written by Terry Nation, I'm gonna be wary. It can still be good, but I'm gonna be wary of the next episode. So,
with all that being said,
we're Alex and Nat from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this overly long discussion. If you want to check out the playlist, there are playlists on screen, as well as a subscribe button and a Patreon button, and there's other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.